Hey guys, Moneyman300, and I wanted to do a quick overview and review, first impressions, whatever you want to call it, on the Destiny beta. I know you've seen that I've been posting some videos up there. I want to go over and give you my thoughts on the game overall. First of all, a little overview. The game itself is a first-person shooter. It's in that genre. It is made by Bungie. For those of you that don't recognize that name, that house is the original developer for Halo. They did all the original Halo games. It has since been turned over to 343 Studios, and Bungie was at one point purchased by Microsoft, and then for the Halo IP, and then they split out onto their own, and that's when they started this game called Destiny. They have been developing it for a few years. It is under the publisher of Activision, and overall it's a what do we call it? I mean, it's a shooter. It's been kind of classified into MMO, but it's not really MMO, which is massive multiplayer online, because the massive part really isn't quite there. I mean, there's lots of people that you run into online, but I wouldn't call it massive. And it definitely falls into an RPG. There are certainly RPG elements in the game. There are different ways that you can play the game. They have missions which you could relate to something like a single player, but you can do them. I don't think you necessarily have to do them in order, but you can do them with 1 to 3 players, which they call fire teams. It was 1 to 3 in the beta. I would assume there's going to be some missions that allow you to play with more than 1 to 3 players. There are what they call strikes, and these seem to be a little bit more difficult. There was one of those called the Devil's Lair, and I'll have a video, and I'll have a video, or maybe I already have a video up by the time I post this one. But anyway, there's a Devil's Lair video there, and that one's a little bit tougher, requires some more teamwork in the way that you go through it, and it also utilizes a matchmaking system. At least it did in the beta, and that you join the strike, and it will, if you're only one person, it'll join you with 2 other people. You guys go down and you go through it. You tend to get more loot, better rewards, all your good weapons and things like that come from strikes. There's going to be raids, which is not in the beta, which is really just a bigger strike where you got to go in with a large group of people to go take on a specific objective. There is standard arena style multiplayer in there, very similar to a Halo or a Call of Duty, although there are some differences. They call it Crucible. There was also something called Iron Banner. The differences are you take everything that you do in the single player carries over into the multiplayer, and that you take your weapons with you and your abilities and the things that you've ranked up on. Now, in regular Crucible, it actually has a scaling system where it'll scale you down, scale other people up to even everybody out on the playing field. In Iron Banner, which was another mode that they had there, it was whatever you took in with you. There was no scaling in that. So if you had the best weapons, you were going to have an advantage in that game type. And then there was also another one that was just basically exploration. You could pick up side missions, or you could just go out and explore the territory that was out there. There was one, what they called Old Russia on Earth, that was open, a decent sized area. I mean, you could roam around there, quite a few, lots of caves, lots of places to go explore, kill enemies, and all those types of things. So along the way, you pick up weapons, you pick up armor, you pick up loot. Some of those could be anywhere from standard, rare, uncommon, and I think legendary is a category as well. I did not see any legendary. I did actually, I think there's another one in between there. Yeah, rare. I did find lots of uncommon, some rare, typically uncommon, and then the rares they become upgradable equipment, but that's all getting pretty deep into the game. Anyway, you pick that stuff up along the way through rewards of finishing missions, or getting kills and drops and finding loot. All different types of ways you can get that. There are 3 types of character classes. There's a Titan, a Warlock, a Hunter, all with various different abilities. I've had gameplay up from each one of those, and you can have each of those and level them up separately however you see fit. And those are really the RPG elements. And as you level up, as you play more, you unlock more abilities for that character. So that's really a really quick 50,000 foot overview of what Destiny is. Now let's get into what my impressions of it. Like I said, first and foremost, it is a shooter. So the very first thing, just like in a racing game, it needs to be solid, and this is very solid. So, like in Forza or any other racing game that you play, if the driving isn't good, or in this case, if the shooting isn't good, then it doesn't really matter what the rest of the game is like. And thankfully in this one, it's done right. It feels good. You get in. It's immediately familiar. If you've played shooters before, the controls are tight. It's not quite as fast as, say, a Call of Duty, and just a little faster than maybe a Halo for those of you that have played both of those games. But but they feel good. They feel tight. The shooting is good. The guns feel good. Everything feels right, and that's the first thing. The feel is very good. So we get past that, and then it's on to the rest of the game. Going into this game, having seen a few of the trailers, and I wasn't following it real closely because, to be honest, there was nothing that I had seen leading up to it that really made me excited about it. But as I started to play it, that changed a lot, and I really enjoyed playing the beta. I had a lot of fun. I played quite a bit, as you've seen on my channel, with Rock King 3, who also very much enjoyed the game. It was I was surprised by how much I liked it. I did not expect that. It had a very addictive quality. It was one of those games that has the elements that make a good game. And I'll relate this again back to Forza in that it's easy to play, just like Forza is. You can pop that game in, anybody, hop in, get in a car, and start going single player. All the assists on, do whatever you want, and potentially enjoy the game that way. And as you get better, you start to take those things off. You start to learn how to tune. You might learn how to paint. You might, and all of a sudden there's about 8 different ways you can play the game. Just, and Destiny's a lot that way. So in the way that in Forza you can be just a circuit racer. Maybe you're just a single player guy, or potentially you are someone who just likes to paint, or maybe you're just a tuner. But there's lots of different ways for you to enjoy the game, and there's different levels of depth, and how much you want to get into it's up to you. I felt that a lot with Destiny, in that it was really easy just to get in and play. If that's all you wanted to do, was just go in and just kind of enjoy the shooting aspects of the game. Or you could take it deeper. You could get into the exploration. You could play the missions on different levels. You could try different things as you play the missions. You could hop in and just do multiplayer, if that's your style. You could hang out and just do the social aspects in what they call the tower, which is where you go to turn in your loot and get things decrypted and get new weapons, and kind of that whole marketplace idea. So it had all of those elements, sorry, I'm moving something out of the way here, which ultimately tend to make a really, make up the components of a really good game. So that was one of those things. It had that really addictive quality that just, when I wasn't playing it, I wanted to play it. When I was playing it, I wanted to play it more. So it was surprising in that aspect that it was done well enough that it really made you want to play more. And typically when I play shooters, I play multiplayer, and I really didn't play. I think I played 4 total games in the Crucible or Iron Banner. I played a little bit of both, and that was it. The other parts of the game really had me drawn in. The RPG elements, the shooting, the mission, the strike, all that was just really a lot of fun. I think there's really something there. If you like shooters, there's something there for everyone to enjoy. Some concerns that I've heard other people express is they're concerned about potentially the amount of content, even though Bungie hasn't come out and said how much is in the full game. That does not concern me. I thought there was a pretty fair amount of depth just in the beta, which only had one area unlocked. You could spend lots of hours just on that one. So, people have said, well, there's, 5 times more content than that. And if that's true, then that's great. That is, to me, well worth the purchase price for something like that. So also, I would fully expect there to be DLC, and it would probably be paid DLC. And if the game's done well enough, I would be happy to pay for DLC. I'm that way all the time. I liked Forza 5. I bought the season pass, the car pass, and did that because I felt like it was worth it. Call of Duty Ghosts, I was not as happy with that game. I did not buy it. So if I enjoy something like Destiny, then I will certainly pay more to get more content if it's well done, and I always feel that way about DLC. I'm not a person who gets mad when they charge more for doing more, because they essentially have to do more work to include that in there. So I would certainly expect they intended for this to be a long-term game with long-term support. And I've seen nothing that tells me, especially knowing Bungie's history, that won't be the case. They've had a history of being very good, supporting their games, developing games, so have high expectations from there. It comes out on September 9th, the full game, and I'm gonna rate this on a scale that, if you know who Woody's gamertag is, I think he used this, or maybe Onslaught, but anyway, it's a scale on, if you bought this many games a year, would this be a game that you bought? Like if you only bought one game a year, is this the one? So I would say for me, and I preface this by saying I like first-person shooters a lot. If you're not a person that plays first-person shooters, I think this is still something that is worth a rent or worth a try with a friend. to see if it's something you might enjoy. Maybe you're only into racing, but you're looking to get into something else, or you did sports games or whatever. My primary gaming genres are in the racing, shooters, and sports. So for me, this is what I would call a top 2 type game. It means if I was only going to buy 2 games in a year, this would be one of them. I thought it was that good. Pleasantly surprised by it. Again, I didn't have really high expectations, and maybe that's why I'm surprised by it, because my expectations were low. But it certainly surpassed any expectations that I had, and especially from a beta. I don't think I've ever played a beta as much as I played Destiny. So really looking forward to the full release. That does not mean this is going to take over my channel and all of a sudden I'm going to be a Destiny channel. Forza is still first and foremost my content. I do and will have more coming on that. Just had a little bit of break in here to kind of do a little something else and have some fun with another game. But yeah, so top 2 game for me. If you're a 2 game a year person, this is a buy for me. If you're a 1 game a year, it's close. So, and if you're somebody who buys 5 games a year, then it's a definite in. So anyway, that's it for my overview. I hope you guys enjoyed the videos on Destiny. I'm sure I'll be doing some stuff when the full release comes. And thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Later.